What's going on, everybody? Martha Cross 316 back with another comic book flashback. Today we are looking at X-Men issue number 104. This issue came out in April of 1977, and as we look on the cover today, we have the return of Magneto. That's right, we haven't seen Magneto since Defenders issue number 16. Go back and look at that issue as we saw how Magneto was pretty much transformed into a baby. Well, how in the world is he now a human again, like a full-grown human? How is this possible? We're going to find all this out as we see the new X-Men fight Magneto, who is also the most deadliest villain of the X-Men. So we recall from last issue how we had the new X-Men team fighting Juggernaut and Black Tom Cassidy. Well, now we're going to see how Magneto plays into all this. So before we get started, go ahead and give this video a like and also subscribe if you have not. And let's go ahead and get started. Today's issue is brought to you by Chris Claremont, who wrote this issue. We have Dave Cockrum doing the artwork, Sam Granger doing the inking, we have Patterson doing the lettering, we have Yankus, the colorist, and Archie Goodwin doing the editing on this issue. Today's title is The Gentleman's Name is Magneto, and he is definitely going to give the X-Men a run for their money. So recall how the X-Men were left into the ocean here after their big fight with Juggernaut and Black Tom Cassidy. They were at Cassidy Keep, and all of a sudden they were ambushed by Juggernaut and Black Tom Cassidy. We don't know the fates of Black Tom Cassidy or Juggernaut if they were able to survive from last issue. That is left for us to figure out later on in future issues, and we'll figure it out later on. But now they're trying to figure out how they can go to Moria McTaggart's center. It's a mutant research center, and this is one thing that, even Banshee didn't know, as we know that Banshee has been dating Moria McTaggart for some time now. And so that's where the X-Men are headed next. But for right now, he's trying to get a boat in order to go to that island. And so he's talking to this one guy right here. This guy's name, as we can see, he's also Scottish here. And so this is one of Banshee's friends here. And he's trying to just convince him, look, we need your boat, dude. We need your boat. We need to go somewhere. And this guy right here is not letting the X-Men go just because they're dressed up and they look different from everybody else. So we have this going on here. And we see here that Banshee is talking. This guy his name's McWhorter. And so basically Colossus is like, all right, if you're not going to pay us the deal that you made with Banshee, then we're just going to steal your boat. And so that's exactly what happens here. We see that the X-Men, the new X-Men, steal McWhorter's boat, and now they're headed to this island here. And all of a sudden, while they're getting closer to the island, they see a huge streak of light come from this, and they come to find out that the X-Men are being ambushed once again. Once again, they are being ambushed here. And it looks like, as we see here, Banshee recalls how the entire boat, all the metal pieces were bent. And so we see here that this is going to cause the X-Men to wonder, well, who exactly is attacking us? Who has the power to bend metal like that? And so we see here that now the X-Men have found Moria McTaggart's mutant research. It's a laboratory at this time. They don't know it's a mutant research center. But we see here that there is a force field surrounding the mutant research center. And so this is odd. Why is there a force field, an invisible force field around the mutant research center? And so the X-Men are still wondering, and all of a sudden the entire ground underneath them is just plotted out of the ground, and it's moving at a fast rate, and it's heading straight towards the outer wall of Moria's lab. And so someone is trying to kill the X-Men here. And who exactly is this? So we see here that the expertise of the X-Men here, They use their full brunt power to basically smash their way into Moira McTaggart's outer wall laboratory here. And then all of a sudden they see the door here is starting to turn bright red and then white hot, symbolizing that something is behind that door. Something very powerful is about to fight and just to show the power of this mutant. And that mutant was none other than Magneto, as we see right here. Magneto being the oldest and wisest and fiercest villain the X-Men has ever fought. As we've looked at other issues of the X-Men, we see just how menacing Magneto looks, and what an awesome splash page right here. I mean, awesome stuff. We also see that the new X-Men team are not going to be facing Magneto alone, as we see that we make the first appearance of the Blackbird here. And the Blackbird, flown by none other than Cyclops and Moira McTaggart. And Cyclops is mad, as we learn here, that Professor Xavier did not reveal that there was a mutant research center this entire time. As we've seen, that Cyclops has been with the X-Men since issue number 1. And so Cyclops is just wondering why Professor Xavier hid this from him. We come to find out that we have Jamie Madrox here. He made his first appearance in giant-sized Fantastic Four number 4. He was knocked out by none other than Eric the Red, Polaris, and Havoc here. As we know, they have been a threat to the X-Men since issue number 97. And we also learn here that Eric the Red came across the holding cell of Magneto, who is now a baby, who is a little kid, and he transforms that young Magneto back into the older, wiser Magneto, the menacing Magneto that we've known for all this time. And so we see here that Eric the Red wanted to strike up an alliance with Magneto, but they couldn't come to an agreement. And so instead, Magneto, instead of working with Eric the Red, vowed to seek vengeance on the X-Men. And so Cyclops realizes just how much of a threat Magneto is and how much harm he can do to this new team of X-Men. And we just see once again the full brunt of Magneto's power. I mean, he is just unstoppable. The X-Men try their very best to stop Magneto, but it's just not going to work. We see Storm is stopped. We see Colossus. I mean, just everybody's so vulnerable. No one is able to even land a punch on Magneto. We see Colossus is thrown and just hurled outside and lands right into the ocean. We see Nightcrawler, he tries to teleport, but then all that wreckage falls on Nightcrawler. We only see that Banshee is the only one that can really strike up a good fight against Magneto. He's the only mutant here that can give Magneto a fighting chance. But even then, we see that Banshee doesn't really stand a chance either. And then he is encased in a coffin full of metal. And his life is going to be gone in a few seconds if no one's able to stop him. But then we see Cyclops comes on the scene. He takes Magneto by surprise, and that's going to give the X-Men just a few minutes here so that they can finally escape here. And so we see that Cyclops is going to round up the X-Men. He tells Nightcrawler to get the Blackbird ready because they're about to just leave. They're about to abandon this big fighting scene with Magneto. Wolverine objects to this, but he listens and he obeys Cyclops. We know that Cyclops and Wolverine have not been on good terms since the beginning. We see that all the X-Men now board the Blackbird. We see that Wolverine is mad at Cyclops for making the X-Men look like they're cowards. And then we see how Magneto is just triumphant. He is just screaming and he's acting like he's now in control of this mutant research center. So that's not good. We see that Magneto is in control of this mutant research center. We also see behind this door there's Mutant X. So we'll learn more about this Mutant X in later issues. We're also introduced to this guy named Chris. We don't know who this guy is, but we're introduced to this team of Starjammers. They'll play into more detail here. Chad and his friend Chris. We're also introduced to another person here, and this is part of the Imperial part. That this woman here, as we see, she appeared in a lot of Professor Xavier's dreams, and so we'll learn more about her. She is also a princess, so we'll learn more about her as we learn here that Eric the Red, we have Polaris, and Havoc. They are all standing outside of Jean Grey's home, his childhood home. She is with her parents, along with Professor Xavier and Misty Knight. And we see here that there's going to be an ambush next issue. And Cyclops wised up and he knew that this entire time Eric the Red has been trying to assassinate Professor Xavier. And so what's going to happen next issue as we see Phoenix Unleashed? That's the title of next issue. I hope to see you next time. And until next time, keep reading comics.